So, the defense that Trump's attorneys in Trump's upcoming second impeachment trial basically hinges on 3 points. A president who has left office cannot be impeached. Trump was only exercising his right to freedom of speech, and that the election fraud claims that Trump has made have still not been proven to be false. Now, though impeachment of government officials is relatively rare, precedent already exists for impeaching a government official after he has left office. And Trump was impeached before he left office. So basically what remains is the trial resulting from the impeachment while he was still in office. So this one might be tough for Trump's attorneys to argue with kind of like any kind of success. Regarding the First Amendment and Trump's right to freedom of speech, there are also clauses to the amendment regarding exceptions. And one such clause specifically addresses fighting words, hostile audiences, and true threats. In addition to his invited guests, such as Giuliani using words like trial by combat, implying that the time for discussion and peaceful protest was over and they had to resort to combat, and that his supporters had to take matters into their own hands, Trump himself used the word fight no less than 23 times, including it in phrases such as, "We need to fight like hell." Many of the MAGA rioters who stormed the Capitol, they're using Trump's inflammatory speech actually as their defense for their actions, saying that he did incite them and that's why they did what they did. So this is one that, to be quite honest, we're going to need to leave for the lawyers to sort out. I don't think we can resolve it kind of like in a discussion here. So this leaves us with what I find to be an almost unbelievable stance taken by Trump's lawyers. Because Trump has made the accusation that, the election was rigged, that it was stolen. And it is incumbent upon the accuser to provide the burden of proof in terms of credible evidence and witnesses when accusing somebody of wrongdoing. And it's not for the accused to have to prove their innocence. Innocent until proven guilty. And given that 59 out of 60 Stop the Steal legal cases have been dismissed due to either lack of credible evidence and or lack of merit in terms of actual legal basis to be filed in the first place, from a legal standpoint, this shouldn't be much of a question anymore. And this even goes further, and it applies to speculative and fake conspiracy theories. One of the most stupid ones I've heard, kind of like in recent months, is that Trump is an alien or an alien hybrid. And, as much as I personally dislike Trump, it isn't Trump's responsibility to prove that he isn't an alien. Taking an actual fact, such as Trump caught COVID, and then twisting it and morphing it into some bizarre fake conspiracy theory because he recovered so swiftly, is every bit as stupid as taking the actual fact that Biden legitimately won the election and twisting it and morphing it into some bizarre fake conspiracy theory that the elections were rigged just because Trump said so. And let's be very clear here. No widespread voter fraud existed, period. Even the lawsuits filed don't claim widespread voter fraud. In fact, they very often specifically deny that it took place. They were filed with the intent of having large numbers of votes invalidated on procedural grounds and technicalities, and even those failed miserably. What is notable is that Trump's lawyers are not saying so far that Trump didn't encourage the riot. And by focusing on these 3 points, the technicalities and stuff, they will attempt to keep the focus away from that aspect. And, it just came out today that Trump actually isn't even going to represent himself, which, if the claims of kind of like a rigged election were true, he would want to. He's full of bullshit. But regardless, the likelihood of Trump actually being convicted is relatively low now, since many of the Republican senators who initially condemned Trump and the violence and, were looking at possibly voting against him, they're now looking after their own personal skins, and they're closing ranks around Trump in support in order for themselves to get reelected. And themselves getting reelected is more important than doing the morally right thing that they were prepared and willing to do just a few brief weeks ago. And this is a prime example of why politics currently are played. Thank you.